What's good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in a building with another banger, man. Now, first things first, before we get into this video, I just want to go ahead and say thank you, God, for another day and another opportunity. Now, as y'all can see from the looks of the title and the screen, today I'm going to be showing y'all how to create the first ever 3-level scoring glass cleaner build, and this is actually a new build coming into NBA 2K23, and I'm going to be showing y'all gameplay in the background as you can see as well. But before anything else, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new. Now, I would appreciate it to everybody who messes with this build, goes ahead and hits that like button as well. Now, let's go ahead and try to get at least 50 likes on this video. But as you can see with the gameplay in the background, this build is going to be able to do it on all 3 levels as well as be able to defend. Now, with the dribbling being 6'10", I'm going to go ahead and say this feels pretty smooth this year compared to previous years being 6'10", but especially when it comes down to what contact lengths we're going to be able to get. On top of all that, you have to keep in mind the badge count is going to be pretty solid in my opinion. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a little leak. We're going to be able to get 76 total badges, but in total, if you consider adding on the 4 extra from the Welcome to the League challenge, we're going to be able to get 80 badges on this build. And if you want to go ahead and throw in the Season 1 requirement in order to get an extra badge point, that's going to be 81 badges in total on this build if you grind out Season 1. Now, go ahead and get started by putting it under the power forward position. Now, for the physicals on this build, 6'10" is going to be perfect for the height like I mentioned earlier. Go with 210 when it comes down to the weight, and then the wingspan is really going to help us out on the defensive end. So I'm going to go with 7'6". Now, as long as you follow all of these numbers, you're going to be able to get all of the elite, pro, and big man contact dunks. Now, a quick little tip to help out everybody going forward with making their own builds. I'm going to go ahead and say starting out with the physicals is probably the best way to go about any build. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you upgrade any of the 4 main areas, these are going to take a huge effect on what the physicals are going to be looking like. So what I'm going to do, go with an 80 speed, then for the acceleration, I'm going to go with the 73. Strength will be a 77, so I feel like that's pretty balanced overall. Then for the vertical, you want to go with an 80, and then for the stamina, I'm going to go with the 90. Now, if you follow the physicals, we're going to be on track to unlock all of the contact dunks that I just mentioned to you. Now, going forward, I'm telling you, with this build, we're going to have a lot of stats that are going to be 90 plus. Now, when it comes down to the actual finishing, we're going to be able to get a 90 plus driving and standing dunk. But then when it comes down to the shooting, this is a pretty solid area as well. But right here, as you can see, we did get 17 total finishing badges. Now, to be honest with you all, the main thing that stands out to me when it comes down to the finishing is how well rounded we're going to be when it comes down not only to the badges, but then I feel like we're pretty overpowered. Low-key can be a catfish build because you aren't expecting what this build is going to be able to do. Now, when I see a 3-level scoring glass cleaner, that reminds me of a build that, yes, it's probably going to be able to shoot. I wouldn't think it's going to be able to dribble, but more so importantly, a defensive build is what it sounds like. Now, as for the badges that we did get when it comes down to the finishing, this is super well rounded, and the main thing that I did want to focus on is being able to spread the wealth just perfectly in both the finishing as well as the shooting. Now, I like the fact that we get at least 6 Hall of Fame shooting badges, but Mini Magician going forward is going to be a super overpowered badge for any position, any height, and any build. I'm letting y'all know right now. Now, for the playmaking, we're going to be able to get a pass accuracy of 80. Ball handle is going to be the same exact thing, and the only thing that you need to make sure with is that you go with a 60 speed with ball. Now, this build is really reminding me of Anthony Davis, so if you want to, you definitely can go ahead and upgrade the speed with ball. I feel like that's going to take away from what we're truly trying to make out of this build, especially with the name, so don't worry. And if you want to, you can even go ahead and test this build out in a 3v3 game mode just to see exactly what it's going to be feeling like once you take it out to the city. Whatever you want to go ahead and do with this build, just make sure that you make it to your own liking and play style. Now, let's go ahead and get into the defensive area. This is super well rounded as well. We're going to be able to get a total of 21 badges when it's all said and done. Now, there's multiple ways to make this actual build. I have already seen it. Now, this is honestly the perfect build if you don't know what kind of big man you want to make. It has everything from the finishing. The shooting is definitely going to be consistent. Now, the playmaking, I'm excited because we have an 80 ball handle, which means we're going to be able to get a majority of the dribble moves. Now, for the defensive end, make your own tweaks and adjustments to your own liking. But as far as for the badges, we have everything that that we truly need. I did want to make sure that at least we were going to be able to get gold chase down artists. Another one that I like is box out beast. Now for the takeovers, this is the only thing that's going to make this build better. As you can see, we do get the shot creating. After that, we also get the sharpshooting. Now the playmaking is going to allow us to not only break ankles but speed boost on this build as well. Now if you want to go with the glass cleaning takeover, that's a great option if you do go with limitless range takeover first. But honestly, I have to be real with y'all. If you want the most potential out of this build, do not pick the glass cleaning or the shot creating takeover. I would go with first limitless range sharpshooting, and then secondly either of the playmaking takeovers, whichever one you decide to go with. I would go ahead and say that's going to be the best fit. But again, this is not only going to allow us to break ankles, but once we pass to our teammates in takeover, they get a huge boost put towards their shot percentage as well as their ability to make it. So let's go ahead and check out the build name actually, and as y'all can see, we get the loading screen of the shades of, and right here together we have created the 3-level scoring glass cleaner. Now honestly, I'm loving the build names that I have seen so far this year. A lot of unique and different ones, but even more so when it comes down to adding 2 different build names in one. That is something that I have seen a lot this year from previous 2Ks thrown into 2K23. Now I know I haven't mentioned it yet, but if you were paying attention to the physicals, if we get that gym rat badge back in 2K23, we're going to be able to get an 80+ speed, vertical, and possibly strength if that gym rat badge is still in the game. Now going forward, the badges are the last thing that we have to work with. Now the main thing that I really like about this here is that we have 4 core badges that we're able to throw on into this area, and if you do that, you're able to save some badge points, which means you're going to be able to get extra badges that you might have not even tried before, and you're going to find out a lot of different things of what you can work with when it comes down to the core badges. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I at least go with silver back down Punisher, gold giant slayer with silver slithery. Now when it comes down to fearless finisher, I'm going to go with silver for that. Limitless takeoff will be gold, and then rise up will be my equipped core badge. Now if you want to, you can definitely go ahead and base it off of your own setting and liking, but as for the finishing, this in my opinion is definitely going to be one of the very best ways to make this build, especially on the finishing end. You have everything that you need. Now that you added the badges, you're going to be able to do some serious work when it comes down to the park and even the city. Now for the shooting, you got to make sure that you hold your own, because this year shooting, I wouldn't say it's tough, but as long as you know how to time a jumper, I promise that you're going to be in good hands. Now as for the finishing, this is pretty much going to be the wrap up of it. Now for the shooting, you have to be very specific with which badges you put on. You don't want to mess up your build going into day one. You want to be sure that you're putting on all of the badges that are going to boost your shooting percentages. So for my setup, it ends up with Mini Magician on Hall of Fame. Then for the tier 2 badges, I'm going to go with Agent 3 on silver, Guard Up will be on bronze, and then for the gold badges that I'm going to work with, Corner Specialist and Green Machine are going to be solely used from my badge points itself. Now for my core badge on the shooting, I'm going to go with Gold Catch and Shoot. This is a pretty good setup, especially on day one. You have the badges that you need in order to shoot from anywhere with Corner Specialist as well as Catch and Shoot. Then with Green Machine, you have that. And then for Mini Magician, I'm just going to go ahead and make a bold prediction right now. Going forward, Mini Magician is either going to be moved up to tier 2 or tier 3, or they're just going to patch this badge itself. Now the reason why I say that is because it makes a huge difference on shooting in the mid-range, especially with posting up. I tried the Jordan challenges and I've seen this badge pop up a lot. So if you want to and you can, make sure that you're putting this badge on any build that you have unlocked. Now to everybody that's still watching and tuning in, go ahead and let me know in the comment section right now, what do y'all think about this build and what have you made so far going into 2K23? A lot of special builds, especially with the build name itself. Now for the playmaking, this is another area of this build in which actually surprised me going forward. So right here, as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I use another core badge. You can go with anything to your own liking, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure I go with bronze handles for days. Hyperdrive will be on silver, and then when it comes down to another tier 3 badge, if you want to, you can go with Unpluckable, or you can even go with Dimer. Now all of these are good options, but again, as long as you like the setup that you have, I promise you everything's going to work out in your favor. Now I'm going to make sure that Quick First Step will stay on silver. Vice Grip is going to be on gold, and that's going to be my 2 tier 2 badges that I'm going to work with on this build. Now let's go ahead and move on to the defensive area. This is honestly the best thing about this build. We're 6'10", and we're going to be able to defend on all areas of the floor. So for my liking, I did go with Rebound Chaser to be my core badge on this build, but if you wanted to, you can go with any other one as well. Now at least make sure that you're going with Gold Box Out Beast as well as Chase Down Artist. As for the bronze badges that I'm going to go with, that's going to be Interceptor, Post Lockdown, pick dodger, glove, and ankle braces. Now, if you follow this setup exactly how I brought it to y'all today, you're going to have one crazy of a build to use going into 2K, especially with the new parks and new cities. I feel like this is going to be the best way to have fun with it. Now, if you want to, again, switch up anything to your own liking when it comes down to the badges and the tiers, but I just want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody who did make it this far into the video. Comment down below as well, where did you tune in from today? Whether that's a different city, country, or state, I want to go ahead and know, and y'all most definitely know that I'm going to hit y'all with a response if you do so. So essentially, this is pretty much what the build wrap up is going to be looking like. We have everything that we need, and I showed y'all on all 4 ends. So go ahead and let me know as well, are you going to be making this build for your 2K23 build? If not, go ahead and let me know if you're making it at all. But again, in my opinion, this is easily one of the best big man builds that we're going to be seeing all year. Now, I just want to go ahead and say thank you, God, for this opportunity. And y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new. And go ahead and turn on post notifications to check when I upload every single day. And let's reach at least 50 likes on today's video. And with all that being said, man, I got one last thing to say. Rich out.